What's up? What's up?
Hey James, how you doing?
Doing good, Debbie. How are you?
I am great here in sunny, hot Florida.
Sunny, hot Florida. So I'm excited about today. Once again, like we're interviewing an agent that's killing it, adding tremendous value to our real estate community. And right now we have Debbie here and runs, has sales down in Florida and has been tremendous. Like what we met in what it was what it was the state capitol. Is that
Our state cap Tallahassee.
Yeah, yeah. No. We met at
Oh, where we met? Yeah,
D.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We
we met at
met
Washington D.C.
Washington D.C. Yes, yeah, we met there last year ago. Actually, it was last July, the end
Yep,
of last July.
yep.
So
We both were there for a sprint event, that we were having that was recognizing some of the leaders within our company. But I mean, it was really good to like meet you and talk to you, and you kind of share me, with some of the stuff that you've been able to do in your business. So it was one of those things like I had to have you on. I had to have you to kind of go through that whole real estate backstory in and of itself. So for those that don't know you directly, can you kind of tell your origins? Like, how did you get to be an agent, and what made you go down that route?
yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Michigan and got out of that snow and cold up there very, very quickly and came down to Daytona Beach and worked in hotels. So in the hospitality business and service business. And then I worked for NASCAR for 10 years here, which was kind of exciting, and worked in sales and marketing and got to travel a little bit, but found and worked on contracts. So got a lot of good experience while I was there and made a lot of great contacts. And then I was out looking for a house one time with a friend of mine, and we just got talking, and she's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about selling real estate?" And I was like, "No, not really." And this was back in 2005, and the market was cranking. The real estate market was like cranking back then, and so in my business at the time, just I was getting you get promoted, and you're overseeing all these people, and I was losing touch with the clients and the customers, and I was sort of missing that and not feeling the passion for that anymore. So I ended up getting my real estate license, and I left a six-figure job and moved into real estate when the market, if you remember back then, the market just tanked.
Yeah.
That's when everybody started, and you started seeing, like, I saw some of our top realtors in our market, like they were losing their cars, they were short selling their houses. And the thing that taught me, though, was, in this business, we have highs and lows. And coming from a regular salary position and going into a commission based business, we have to be sure, like right now, we're kind of coming off that right now where everybody's making a lot of money, and we kind of spend more when we have more. And but putting money away and just having some retirement and doing some things so you can get you through if the market does shift, because sometimes it's out of our control. um, but then I really took that work ethic that I had when I was at NASCAR and working my 7 days a week and 80, 90 hours a week, and just applied that to this business. I was single at the time. I had just moved on the intercoastal, so I had some hefty bills to pay. Fortunately, I had an equity line I could live on because I just jumped in. But in this business, you just have to work hard and build. And then I was out selling some of our top agents there in those first few years because they had that shift. But so it's been great. So it's been 17 years now that I've been
Wow.
doing this full time. Yeah.
17 years. I mean, one of the things that I was kind of looking at some things you were doing. Like you put on there, like, selling the dream, right? And like, who doesn't want to live in sunny Florida? Like everybody goes there to vacation anyway. Who wouldn't want to live there? Like, how did you make that transition to, almost kind of like, building that part of your business to where you're working with like hiring people and being able to help them out.
Yeah, I think, well, the one good thing was I've always lived on the water, even growing up in Michigan. So getting on the water was really important to me. And then when I was living on the water, so we have this whole thing is we live it, we love it, we sell it. And we all love that sunny Florida and the palm trees and all that stuff. And so I think just networking with people in my market and being just really portraying and having that waterfront lifestyle. I mean, when we love something, and it's what we do, we can connect with people that have the same interest. And I think that's been really helpful in that case.
Yeah. So man, I love the beach. That's one of like, me and my wife go back and forth all the time. We're talking about like, where we want to retire, and Florida's like, top on the list where that's concerned.
Yeah.
Um, are you finding more people that's coming down there? Are they buying like second homes, or are they buying like, first homes? Like, what are you like, and what are you getting the most out of? And if it is a second home, like, where are you fishing in the pond for somebody that wants to, make that move to Florida to buy that second home?
Well, I think we're getting a lot of things now, with COVID and everything that happened, and the shift in businesses. So many people can work anywhere. They can, or work, live anywhere and work from home. And that really, we saw such a spike in Florida. And even now, and our prices, as everybody has seen prices go up, we've seen that here. So we've got that, and second homes. I mean, we were just, we had a conference, our Women's Council Realtor, we had a conference, and we had, somebody that's doing the vacation short-term rentals, and was just going over the stats, and a lot of people are seeing that in markets by the beach where people want to visit, but the investors coming in and buying those second, not only second homes, but being able to VRBO and Airbnb, and the amount of money that can be generated, and the cap rates you can get on some of, like, an oceanfront home, plus you're building the equity, and you've got the interest. So it's a good way for investors to diversify and just get some water. And even people who are going to retire at some point and want to move to Florida, getting that home now is a really good thing, because they can rent them out. You've got to be careful where you are, but there's such a demand for even long-term rentals. People are looking for homes, and the sad thing sort of in our market is that with prices have gone up so high, and now we've got the spike in interest rates, our affordability for those people that live here and work here that are still younger families, the affordability is getting a little more challenging. So trying to find ways to help those folks out is probably something we need to focus on moving forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned like the spike of interest rates coming. I mean, you got a lot of agents out there, and like we're experiencing this shift in the market, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're anybody that's been an agent for the last 2 years, like any property that comes up on the market, I mean, you got 15 offers, 20 offers the first day it hits the market. I was talking to an agent the other day, and they were saying that a property had been on the market for like 5 days, no offers. They were the first one to put the offer in, and it was able to actually get the property. So
Yeah.
like we're going through this transition. Like what are some of the things that you're doing in order to you know make this better of a transition for your business? But more importantly, what can you advise an agent that hasn't gone through '07, that hasn't gone through '08, as far as what they can do to make sure that they're going to be good?
I think the way I work is, I think, just back to basics, relationships. People do business with people they know, like, and trust, and you can't be a secret agent, and you really have to get out there and provide value, and full service too to people, really help them through the process. I think, caring about the people and putting them first is always just the way. And I think in this market, it's just personal relationships and just taking care of people. But the other thing that's great for I like that we're making the shift. And I think a lot of us that are a little more seasoned like that, because we're going to see some attrition. It doesn't take a lot to get a real estate license. You've got a lot of people out there, and getting back to working with the professionals that do treat this like a business and do care about the customer. Marketing is key. There's all kinds of new marketing now with, all of the different technologies and our social medias, and just, we've got to break out of our comfort zones and put ourselves out there and really highlight people's properties. Staging is going to come back. You can't go out and take your own photos, professionalism. You've got to, get out and hire a photographer, but just find ways to stand out and make people's properties show in their best light. Um, you know, Negotiating skills, open houses. We're doing a broker's open next week with 3 other agents. Somebody reached out, and gosh, when was the last time we've done those? But like you said, same thing. The houses aren't going on, when they go right on the market, and you're not getting the multiple offers, and the sellers are sort of expecting that. So you've got to manage their expectations too going into it. and through the process and communication with those sellers on a regular basis to keep them happy is important as well.
Yeah. So, all right. So expectations. I mean, I think that's a really good thing. Like for sellers that they see all the posters on social media, 10 offers, 15 offers,
Yeah.
5,000, 100,000 over ask price, all these big, huge numbers. Like, what do you do to convince a seller that this market isn't the same market that they've been used to watching from everybody else? What are some of the things that you're doing to help that seller out?
Well, I think, they need to just understand, show them what's going on, show them what the current, you can see the inventory, you're starting to see price reductions, show them where they're seeing where properties have come on at a high price and you're seeing them still on the market and dropping. Help them understand how the current interest rate is going to impact the purchase power of these customers. That's really important because the shift in the interest rate can make a really big difference to make it unaffordable and price some people out of their homes. And they have to look at their motivation, what's their timelines. I mean, all of that. Can they wait and see what happens? I think, and depending on where you are, because here in Florida, we typically, like right now, people are looking to get into homes to get well, I think this is everywhere probably. I'm not as familiar with other markets, but school's going to be starting in August in most places. So people are trying to get into homes so they can get their kids into the school zones and different things. But then we see things in September. It's like quiet. September, October for us is typically, and then we'll spike later. So you just have to kind of guide them and counsel them, but staying in communication and just educating them, I think, is the most important.
Yeah. But I almost, I was talking to somebody and I was just telling them like the skills is going to come back as a real estate agent. And
Yes.
like before, honestly, like you didn't have to have a whole lot of skills to make it in this market. I mean,
No, they did not. No.
yeah, you just put things on the market, it's gonna sell. I mean, just take a picture of the front of the house, you're gonna get offers. Like you were saying, the professionalism is coming back, the skills,
Yeah.
the negotiation. Negotiations before it was non-existent. Like it was just, hey, go up in the price. Like
Take
now
it or
we're
leave
able to,
it.
yeah. Now you're gonna have to really negotiate. I think you're right. The seasoned agents that knows how to do real estate the right way, they're going to be the ones that's going to be able to last and support. But I mean, that's the reason why we're doing this because
Yeah.
like I don't want people to go out of business. I mean, I was at a place before where I mean I didn't know how to get my own business. I didn't know how to do marketing. I didn't know how to negotiate and stuff like that. And the people that I was around, they never really, they never taught me.
Yeah.
But I had to find my tribe. And once I found my tribe, that tribe, took me in. They showed me the ropes, and I just vowed that I would never be that person to not share.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some of the things that you're doing? I mean, because you're an icon agent, and that means that you're doing big things in of itself, and like some of the requirements is for you to give back.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're actually doing to give back and then be able to help other agents out to become the Debbie in their neighborhood?
Living. One of the things that we're doing here is we just started doing classes. We've got a little training center now where people can meet in person, and so we have them come in a variety of different classes. Because my business has never been through buying Zillow leads, and I've never really spent money in that case. It's about providing stellar service and communicating and just being detailed and working with great vendors. And your vendors, your insurance agents, your home inspectors, and everything else are an extension of your team, really. And I think with that, just I just encourage people to do that and be professional. And the other agents on the other side of the deals are your clients too. I mean, we have to have good relations and just respect everybody. And so we're just trying to do some classes. I mean, we have so much affordable to, on all of our different groups and with our company too, with all the different trainings and stuff, and just encouraging people to plug in, being available. We're doing socials and getting together. I think just sharing and That's kind of what we've been doing here, and it seems to be working. We've got some great agents, and people are still doing well, but everybody's got to roll up their sleeves and just dive in. Like newer agents, I just encourage them to plug into the resources that they have, like you mentioned, like you did. Find good experienced agents that are willing to share and help. And I had somebody reach out to me. It's pretty ironic. She's with us in our group, and she just called me and she said, you know what? She was following Ryan Serhant, and she said, he said, find a great agent, find the top agents in your market, and just see if you can shadow them, follow them. And she said, I did my research, and I was wondering. So she came and we sat, and so she was just here the other day, and I was helping her write a listing agreement. So it's fun helping people, and I think just it's who you surround yourself with that matters. And just like with meeting you and the fortunate things that I've been able to have since I've made my move, because we're always growing and learning. I don't care how many houses you're selling or what you're doing in your business, or becoming a leader. There's a lot of things that we need to grow and develop our leadership skills and everything else, so we can help others, because that's the shift for me, as I've enjoyed helping customers, and now I want to focus more on helping the agents and help them be successful as well.
Man, like Gil Ramos was talking, and he did one of our masterminds, and he was just saying, like, curious people make the most money.
Yeah.
And he framed it in the aspect of like getting to know the people that's surrounding you, and that's kind of what you're saying right now. Like,
Yeah.
getting out there, get to know people, get to talking to people, find out what it is that they're doing, find out what it is that makes them tick, what they like, and then you just get in relationship with them because you're curious about them.
Yeah.
If you're talking to, if I want to share about what I want to share about, then that's not necessarily going to benefit somebody else. But if I'm getting their information of what they care about, when now we're making a true connection, because people want to deal with people that, like you said before, know, like, and trust them.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody has, like, and where you're going with that, I mean, everybody has different goals. I mean, some people, have families and they want to be with their families and they can't work, all the grind of the 12, 14-hour days. But again, it's like meeting more people and maybe partnering with another agent or sharing. There's so many different ways. And we see that, and being able to just share. The more people you talk to, the more you learn.
Yeah. So some people, like, they have this thing of like nervousness, right? They're scared to go out and put themselves out there and meet people. Like, is that something that you've always had, where you never had a problem just talking to folks, or was it like a skill that you had to develop?
I think, well, and I touched on earlier, being in the hospitality business. I think people that are like wait on tables, and I worked at a front desk, and I remember the first time I got yelled at a front desk, and I was in tears crying. But I think, things like that build up those skill sets. So people that have been doing that in the past, but then just getting out there, like you said, you have to get out there. And even if it's talking to, people, you can't be a secret agent. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you can't be a secret agent, because people need to know you're out there, because the next thing you'll see, one of your family members listed their house and it's like, well, it's your fault. Or a past customer. Here's another thing. A past customer go list their home with somebody else. You sold it to them, but did you stay in touch?
Yeah.
So it's about staying in touch with people. And Grant Gove has been really pushing this 10 contacts a day for 10 days in a row, just to kind of jumpstart. And we actually have a bunch of our agents, because we went to an event with him after our shareholders. We just had a big event last week, I guess it was. And we've got several people on it, and they're on a group text, and it's fun watching and seeing what's going on. And I tried to jump in it, and I'm juggling a few other things right now. And it's hard to have 10 conversations a day, with actual conversations with people. But it's really important to do that, because you'll see that you can add people to your database, or you meet people. You've got to talk, go out to join your local chamber. If you see networking events, go to networking events, and just know what's going on in your market, and just ask people, because everyone likes to talk about real estate, whether they're looking to buy or sell. And you just build that rapport, and then you can get connected on social media and different things. But there's so many ways to get out there. But you're right, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to put yourself out there. And it's just something that gets easier over time.
Now, is that something that was it a strategic thing? Like you mentioned this chamber of commerce, and Jay Kinder talks about all the time. Basically you want to get in front of the influencers, right? Like because those are the people that is going to be able to not only refer you, but they're going to know other people that's movers and shakers. So was that something that you strategically did?
Yeah, I think, well, and I've been here in, a long time in Florida, and then being at the Speedway, and the just different, the people that I've gotten to meet over the years. And then when I got into real estate, I did join our Chamber of Commerce. So not right immediately. So I've been 13 years, and I just had the chance to speak in front of my networking group the other day and talk about the market and talk about my business and how I do business. And, those opportunities present themselves. And then there's rotaries and different things. But um, I think you just have to put yourself out there, and it just comes easier. I'm trying to think of some other ways. Like, we're members, we joined the country club here, and started playing tennis, and I've made some of my best friends there. But you end up talking about real estate. There's also in your communities. There's publications out there that do those community newsletters and magazines that you can participate in. And right after this, I have a lunch, which it's called Women of Waterfront, and I advertised in this magazine for 4 years, and they're all $1 million homes on the river and on the ocean here in our market. And the women get together once a month for lunch, and I get to get face to face and get to know them. And so you just have to look for opportunities, and talk to people and ask people where they go, what they do, because there's opportunity everywhere. There really is.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Burke talks about it, and he says that people think they have a money problem, but he said you don't have a money problem. You got a people problem. You get enough people within your group, then the people got the money. So you
Yeah.
got to be able to reach out for that.
And one of the things Brent Gove drilled into us the other day, but the enemy is the inner me. We just have to get out there, because it really comes down to us. We have to get out there and do it, just like you said, talk to more people.
Yeah. So all right. So you're selling houses, waterfront. I mean, you're selling the dream of you Michigan on the lake, down to Florida, oceanfront. Things are building. Like what are some of the goals going forward? I mean, because you've been an icon agent, you're selling on a pretty good, on a pretty high level. One of the top percentage of agents and sales within the country. Like what are some of the goals going forward? What is with your journey now? Like what are some of the goals that you're looking to accomplish?
Well, I turned 50 last year, and that really made, and not that it's a big deal, but you just realize, when you work, and I don't have children, so I just had this really strong work ethic and worked a lot. So I took that, and I realized, you start to realize time is all we have. And so um, that's when I met you, but I also met you in Cabo too, because I took advantage to go to some events. But getting out to events and meeting other higher level producers, getting out of my local market was really key, because all I knew was Daytona Beach, and then I just branched out. And so making connections with people like you and people all over the country and Canada. I have a weekly accountability call with an agent up in Canada. So that's been really good. And so what it's made me realize too is that, there's more than just the sales piece of it. And it's like I said earlier, it's helping. I've loved helping people get into homes and want to continue to do that and help people in some of the biggest decisions of their life. But helping agents now, because I can look back, if I could go back 10 years, 15 years, oh my gosh, I would do so many things differently. And I see the mistakes I've made or things I could have done better, let's say. So I now, I've actually been talking to Success Coaching about getting certified as a coach, to where I can also help others and see some of those things. And because you can't sacrifice so much of your life for work. I mean, your customers are very important, but your customers should not come before family and friends, and also your health and taking care of yourself. So it's more about being more aware, and having doing more healthy things for yourself, putting your self-care, putting yourself first, because we can't take care of others if we're not taking care of ourselves. So I've been on this journey these last couple of years of just self-development, and then I want to become a better leader and help others.
Yeah. So somebody was telling me one time before, and they were saying, what most people do, like, small business owners, because if you're a real estate agent, basically you're running a business.
Mhm.
Um, they they design their life around their business, and it really shouldn't be that way. And that, I think that's, we've all done it, right? We've all done that because it takes a certain level of grind and hustle in order to get the business up and going. But really, ultimately, what you want to do is you want to design your business around your life.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
then that's when you start to have, like you said, the family goals are being met, the health goals are being met.
Mhm.
Those are things, I never met somebody on their dying bed think about, like, man, I wish I'd have went on that additional listing appointment, or I wish I would talk to that extra client. It's always, I wish I spent more time with family. I wish
Yeah.
I wish I took care of myself better. Those are the things, and that sounds like that's the mind shift and that transition that you're making, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, and I was saying how if I could go back and change things, one of my things was, oh, whenever you need me, give me a call anytime. And, you're sending people emails at 5 a.m. or you're working still at 11 p.m. And then they think it's okay to like call you at that time and different things. And it's about if we set boundaries, because at the end of the day, I think most people respect us and would respect that if you tell them up front and just communicate with people and have some ways. So we have to set boundaries for ourselves and just communicate it to our customers. I mean, they're important, and there are going to be exceptions, obviously, but just all the time, it doesn't have to be necessary.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell agents, like, you design your business and your business runs how you say it runs.
Yeah.
And you have a choice, right? I mean, you got different agents, you got discount agents that are, go down to like 1-0% interest system, percent, commission fees and all that other stuff. And you got other agents that they're actually going above the norm. They're like 7-8%, but it's your choice. I can be a Walmart, I can be a Target, I can be a Nordstrom's. You get to be whatever you want to be, but it's your business designed around your life and how you want to build it.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, sometimes I don't think people really look at it. It's not always about volume, like you were saying. Price points are important, because I'd rather go sell a riverfront, waterfront home than go sell a bunch of $50,000 lots.
Yep.
I mean, and a lot of times, a lot of the deals, no matter what your price point is, take the same amount of time. And actually, when you get up into the higher price points, you end up with more seasoned buyers and sellers. So it's actually a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the things when I got into the business that I saw, and it was like, I want to get on, and I love the water, so I want to get on the waterfront. But, I remember that time where, you get that first opportunity and it's like $1 million listing. You're like, oh my gosh, you freak out. But people are people, and that's what we have to remember. And again, it's just you do it. But there's definitely less transactions at a higher price point are better, in my opinion. But there's just lots of different ways and models you can do when you can structure your time. And again, partnering with somebody or getting on, there's get on a team, or there's so many different ways to craft the business, because it's your business and it's whatever best suits you and your styles. Some people can cold call. Some people are better relationally. So
Yeah. So, all right, so I mean, this has been awesome, Debbie. Like, opening up and having this conversation with you. Like, what are let's conclude it with this. Like, if you was an agent, right, and you were starting out, or maybe you've been in business for a while, but you haven't had the success that you want. Like, what are the one or maybe two things that you would do right away, in order to grow your business and get things moving?
I think some of the things we sort of touched on, but to recap, just get out there. You have to get out there and get out there, not only in person, but also on social media because everyone's watching. And you can, even if you don't have business, like say you don't have a listing, find somebody that does and go to an open house and ask the agent, hey, can I just do like a little video here? Let people see that you're out in homes. I tell all of our agents, come shoot at my listings. I don't care. Make it, sell it. We want to sell this for the seller. But just getting out there and making calls. Don't hesitate, like people and just ask them for a favor. Hey, can you tell me anybody? Do you know of anybody? It's not the easy thing to do, but just get out there and talk to people about real estate. And it's what you focus on expands, right? So if you're out there thinking it, doing it, you're out there talking, it's going to happen. The business will appear. It really, really will.
Love it. So I mean, I greatly appreciate it. I mean, I'm so glad we connected. Not only in Washington but in Cabo. Like, what other better place to be in training in Cabo
I know.
for high level real estate agents? Like, I mean, it's just phenomenal what what we've been able to get connected to, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So once again, like we do this every Thursday where we're interviewing an agent that's killing in their industry, that's adding tremendous value to better the real estate agent. So tune in for next Thursday. Once again, like if you want to know about like real estate or any questions about that, I mean you can reach out to me directly. You want to know what partnership look like because we've been partnered up with some agents. You can reach out to me directly with that. Reach out to Debbie, ask her whatever questions in of itself. Like I said, we didn't get here where we are by ourselves. So like our whole thing is to be able to give back. So that's what we're about.
Absolutely.
But thanks, Debbie, again, and until the next trip. You going to Dallas?
I will be in Dallas. I will be seeing you there.
I'll be seeing you in Dallas. All right. To the
And
next.
Vegas in October.
All right. See you later.
All right. Take care. See ya.